Archery season 2020, October 26th to November 9th. Moving over to the west side of the property, I sat a stand that we call the bridge stand. It is on the west side of the property, and it's very close to a gravel road that runs north and south along the west side of the property. Didn't see any mature bucks of any kind, but a lot of spikes, a lot of 4-pointers, 6-pointers, 8-pointers. Only saw one doe, but they walked pretty much right across the center of the field. My truck is clearly visible over along the road in the opening of the fence, and none of the deer were concerned with my truck except one in particular who wasn't very happy about it being there, but all in all, it didn't prevent him from crossing the field. Now, on this particular day, every deer that walks by me happens to be downwind. This was not a good stand location on that day. However, I didn't expect the deer to come from the field. I had expected them to come along the creek, which is to the north, which at this particular day happened to be upwind of me. But of course, as things work out, that's not what happened. He sees my truck. He sees my truck. He made it. He just turned to go up on my truck. Of course, he's too damn small. I ain't shooting no small 8-point. And there he goes, right across the road. All right. Here's the doe. She's coming back to him. No, don't go my way. This was a very active morning hunt. No, you're gonna get downwind. Oh, there's more deer out there. There's a lot more deer. Again, the wind did not cooperate, and most all the deer are downwind of me. Okay, here comes the big boy. Here comes the big boy. He smells me again. They are all downwind. He knows I'm here. They are downwind of me. It's a 10-pointer. It's a nice 10-pointer. He knows I'm here, but he doesn't know where. Mr. Big is over there sit checking me. Bang, bang, bang. That's actually a buck. It's a little button buck. He comes over here. I'm gonna shoot him so I can go home and visit Mama and the kids. There's another buck right there. Unfortunately, I did not get video of the second 10-pointer who was in the corn just south of this 10-pointer that's on video. I didn't get video of it because he was coming in to my direction and I thought I may get a shot. And he doesn't know where I'm at. The majority of this buck interaction was taken in this portion of the farm. This is where the deer were standing, which represents about 40 to 41 yards away from my deer stand. Unfortunately, the buck never gave me a clear shot. As you can see, many branches are in between him and I. Ironically, though, it's well within my distance to shoot. I have since cleared this shooting lane out so that I will be able to take this shot in future.
Alright, I'm gonna put the phone down. I gotta range find him. God, I think that's like buck number 6. They are cruising for does, baby.
I cut out a great deal of this footage. There is probably over 15 minutes of 5 to 6 different bucks. On this morning hunt as well as this evening hunt from the same stand, I had between 3 and 5 deer literally underneath my feet, eating acorns. I was not sitting in a white oak tree, I was sitting in a red oak tree, and I was quite surprised to find that the deer would disregard the corn to eat the rather bitter red acorns.
Like I said, Ralph, a buck attracted. He's gonna come right to my stand. This is why I don't shoot does. I got a buck in the corn. 3:20 p.m. He's sitting there peeing. He's peeing right now. It's kind of cool. He actually came from inside the corn. He's gonna mess with that scrape again.
On this particular evening, all the deer came directly from inside the corn.
He's smelling right where I stood and checked the camera earlier this morning.
The camera I was referring to is a trail camera that's right there by the deer's head. On a side note, the temperature on this particular day was in the mid-70s. The bulk of all the deer activity I saw was actually on the warmest days. If you listen closely, you'll hear the buck grunting. This is approximately 7 to 8 yards from my stand. Buck has walked into where I had been standing just a few hours before, and he smells me. He's not terribly concerned as there's some does behind me about 5 to 6 feet from my stand. Here he's finally gotten downwind from me. The wind is very, very weak, but just enough that he catches my scent, at which time he decides he's going to turn around and walk back to the south in a whole nother direction. Originally, he was planning on checking out the does who were standing behind my tree. Here you'll see a map of this Briar Creek clearing that I'm hunting. Here's the path that the deer took, and here he continues westbound. Here I am stuck up in the tree well after dark. I start making noise trying to get the deer to move off to a different location. This next map sets up the following clip. I'm in a northeast pond stand when the arrow pointing to the dam shows a large 10-pointer come down to drink and then begins walking down the dam. Here comes the 10-pointer walking back up the hillside. He's going to be joining the dam and then heading northbound.
Let's see if I can see
The distance from myself to that deer was about 125 yards.
Alright, there he is. He's coming out. He's right over there. There he is. Damn.
Now I've moved to the far southeast corner of the property. I'm looking out over a field that's actually not part of the lease. This used to be one of my favorite places to hunt, but I didn't hunt it much this year. Coming up here is a trail cam video that's located about 40 yards behind the stand that overlooks the field. I also believe this is the same buck that was along the dam of the pond, as this camera is situated right between this particular stand location and the pond itself.
That one's just out feeding in the field. And then this one right there. And there's one to my right. Oh, here comes another one. Right in there. Right in the middle of the screen. Right there. And there's one right there.
This wound up being the last night that I actually set the stand. So I only set the stand one time. There is a blind located about 40 yards away from the stand that my buddy Ralph hunted out of.
But I hear something over my right hand side.
I was dismayed by the fact that I didn't see any bucks doing any chasing out in this small field. As the previous year, this was a real hot spot. Bucks would chase the does out in this 2-acre pasture, in and out of the lease property that I was sitting on.
There's a 4-pointer out in the field, but I had to use my binoculars to see him, so the phone isn't going to pick him up.
Time to head back over to the central field stand, as it seems to have the highest amount of activity this year. Watch the small doe's reaction as she steps out and catches a whiff of where I had been standing earlier in the evening on my walk to the stand. Talking about an extraordinary sense of smell, that deer picked up about 20 yards prior to the trail cam the fact that I had been over at the trail cam 2 hours earlier downloading videos. There are so many trails in this opening it was difficult to pattern the deer. As I suspected, they just meander through this opening. But there are good 5 to 6 heavily defined trails. Here you can clearly see one of my newly cut shooting lanes. One of the very cool things about most of the deer were how very healthy they were. I never saw any abnormalities of any of the deer this year. In between corn, acorns, and soybeans, they were very well fed. While it is pretty cool having the deer so close, right underneath my stand, it does get to be a pain after a while. I'm sitting in a very old ladder stand. I'm not sure the actual age of the stand, but every little movement will make the stand pop and creak. To make things worse, I can't even get up from the seated position. Any shot I would take would have to be seated. About now, this buck is completely downwind. He'll look over my way as he definitely has my scent. However, with the does right underneath my stand, it puts him at ease. And he just let out a real soft grunt.
He's downwind of me. He smells me. And he does not know where I am. Okay, here comes yet another doe. I don't even know how many this is now. But she just came in from the cornfield. I'm not shooting these does because I want them to attract more bucks. The 7-pointer came out of the cornfield, and I could hear him crashing in the middle of the cornfield.
I mention here why I was not shooting does. However, I did shoot one several days before this to fill a doe tag. Additionally, I didn't see a lot of does. Most of all the deer we saw were immature bucks. Here we are the next morning, same stand on a morning hunt.
2 does and a buck. Oh, here comes another one. Alright, those are does. There's another one right over there. He's doing some scent checking, it looks like. Man, I gotta put a stand up across here. There's some spots for a climber, but that has been a hotbed area right there. And I do mean a hotbed. I've probably seen 10 bucks go through there. Oh man, he's grunting to beat the band. And they're chasing. Oh, here comes a big one. Alright, we've got another buck just came in from the right. A big one came in inside the woods, chased the smaller one. And now this guy just came out of nowhere. Oh, there's a bunch of them in there. There should be another one over on the right. Alright, there are 3 bucks in there. Oh shoot, no, that big one just walked away.
Coming up is one of the more difficult decisions I made as a really nice wide 8-pointer comes in. He got very, very close and would have been extremely easy to shoot. However, I had set my sights on much higher and I had seen much bigger bucks. Even though I was nearing the end of the first portion of the archery season, I still hold out hope that one of the bigger bucks will make a showing. At this point, he's virtually under my stand. He's now a matter of 10 to 12 feet. By now, my decision is made. Let's let him grow at least one more year and hope he makes it through the 2020 Missouri rifle season. My final evening hunt will be from the same stand that Ralph shot his 9-pointer. Got a lot of doe activity as they were being chased through the woods at almost dark. The most fun was seeing two bucks fight.